how many of you subscribe to that. And another incident was reported. Of course, I just have it from next door, so I don't know if it's, corroborated, but a group of Jewish people were walking in Kent Mill, and they were pelted with eggs. So that now becomes a physical attack. Anyway, we'll talk about these things, and I thank very much the Fourth District Police, our commander, Commander Captain Augustine, who I understand has over 20 years of experience, and Officer Katie Beard, who is our community relations officer, who I always hear wonderful things about. In my previous incarnation working for the county government, I worked with both the commanders and the community policing officers, and they do wonderful things for our community. I also can everyone mute themselves, please, unless you have something, that you need to say, and then raise your hand on the reaction icon. Anyway, I believe we also have other people who are not part of our synagogue community. I saw Delegate Bonnie Cullison has joined us tonight, and it's kind of tough to check the boxes. So if I've missed anyone, I apologize. Let me turn it now over to our police officials, and when they are done, I will begin some of the questions that we already have received, and then we'll open it to your questions. Thank you. Officer Beard and Commander.
Thank you. I appreciate you all for inviting us here this evening. I am Commander Augustine, the District Commander for the 4th District of Wheaton Glenmont. The 4th District covers just over 82 square miles, and we serve 225,000 residents out of the 4th District. So it's a very large district, and it's the 2nd busiest district in Montgomery County. So I wanted to talk about, myself and Officer Beard are going to kind of split this up. I'm going to talk about the most recent incident and bias-related incidents and hate crimes. And Officer Beard is going to talk more on the prevention and what the community can do and things like that. So every year, Montgomery County Police publishes an annual bias-related incident report. And the 2021 report was published around a month ago and gives a summary of the statistics for Montgomery County. There was 143 bias-related incidents in Montgomery County in 2021, compared to 117 in 2020. The leading bias group was race, but with 78, and 34 for religion, with 29 of them being categorized under anti-Jewish. Of those 143 incidents, 7 of them were categorized as hate crimes. And it's important to understand the definition of a hate crime. And that's basically an underlying crime, whether it's an assault, a vandalism, or another criminal element that was committed partially or by bias, being bias related. So someone did the intended criminal act due to a bias. So an example would be someone who's, an example was given about someone walking down the street, eggs thrown at them, and if the suspect or someone else made anti-Jewish remarks or said something to lead that it was bias motivated, that would then be considered a hate crime. And there's additional criminal penalties related to that besides just the second degree assault. So looking at 2022 so far, and I got the numbers today. So far in 2022 in Montgomery County, there's been 66 bias-related incidents. And of the 66, 16 have been anti-Jewish. So we're on the same target for the number of bias-related incidents compared to the high number last year. And we may be slightly higher on the number of Jewish bias-related incidents. So to talk about the incident that occurred on June 2nd, the 4th District was notified of posters that were in the area of the bus stop on Arcola. So officers responded out there, met with a complainant, identified that there was 3 posters that were at the bus stop, and later identified that there was one that the park police took a report for at the Kent Mill Park, which had been removed. And then there was another one that was later found at the grocery store on the ice box outside. The sergeant responded out there, immediately took a report, had his officers canvass on the neighborhood to see if anyone saw anything, as well as looked for video cameras or anything that would record this. Additionally, he met with the school across the street from the incident, spoke to them, as well as spoke to one of the rabbis. I actually responded out there that afternoon and met with the Silver Spring Jewish Center, as well as the Yeshiva of Greater Washington, and spoke to their staff there about the incident. And actually at the Silver Spring Jewish Center, I was there for around 30-45 minutes and did a walk through a security survey of their building, and talked to them about the incident, as well as engage with the youths that were there. So that weekend was your holidays, so I spoke to my officers at a roll call and advised them when they were not on a call for service to be in that area for those beat officers. I say to be in that area when they're not there for calls for service, because if a 911 call does come in, they would be responsible to respond to that call. Additionally, I put out a next door post about the incident to tell the community what occurred, as well as what MCPD's response was. Our central business district team, as well as our patrol officers, continue to patrol that area to increase visibility. We have not had another reported bias-related incident since this one on June 2nd. I confirmed that today with looking through our reporting system, as well as calls for service. Additionally, I'm trying to see if there's anything else here to answer some of the questions you had about this incident. As well as the follow-up investigation, we have no leads on who posted these signs. There was websites attached to the posters at the bottom, and both come back to national organizations. One's located in Denver, Colorado. The other one's located in Texas. They were not local groups where there may be affiliates in this area. They aren't based out of this area, so they could have got those signs from their website and posted them up there. It doesn't mean necessarily that the person is affiliated with that organization. So that's what I have about this incident so far, and I will be more than happy to take questions about our response, how we handle bias-related incidents, as well as our follow-up stuff, if there's any other questions.
And Officer Beard, did you want to speak to us first, or simply answer questions?
If the commander wants to take the questions about the incident first, that would probably be easier, just to keep them all together, and then we can talk about prevention and things that we're doing in your community to help.
Okay. All right, then with the commander's opening statement, why don't I then start asking some of the questions, and I think the commander has already answered some of them in his statement, but let me start with the question about cameras. Are there cameras in the vicinity? Did anything get picked up, and should we have more cameras?
Well, the cameras would be by either private businesses or individual residents. So we did a canvas of that area. So far, it has been, we have not got any video that covers the bus stop area. We always encourage, community members as well as businesses to have a video system to, and not just for bias related incidents. There's a lot of other incidents that we've been able to solve cases due to the person, not the victim, but some community member having a video of what occurred to a victim. So I would say if you ever catch an incident on your camera, rather than posting to social media, contact the 4th District Station so we can have an officer go out there or have the video forwarded to us, and then I immediately send that to the investigators that handle that. So that's another reason that we always do neighborhood canvases after a burglary or after a bias-related incident, to notify the community that an incident has occurred so they can check their cameras if they have them to see if anything was captured on there or a vehicle passing by. It doesn't have to actually see the crime being committed. It can just be a vehicle in the area that we can link to the incident.
Also, I did want to mention that although Hartziona Gudath Achim is not located in Kemp Mill, a number of our congregants live in Kemp Mill. We are a traditional conservative synagogue, and we do have people who walk from Kemp Mill for many years. They've done so to the synagogue. So if let's hope there aren't any further incidents in that area, our congregants are directly affected. Okay, let's see. You said, Commander, that you did put additional surveillance around Kemp Mill and I guess all the way to the Central Business District. How long is that going to last? I know it can't last forever.
Right. So I wouldn't say it's surveillance. Surveillance is more of an undercover aspect. It's more of a high visibility presence. We have done that, and I was lieutenant here back in 2015 and covered the Kemp Mill area. We've always provided high visibility during all your holiday weekends because we understand there's increased foot traffic on the Friday and so on. So we've always increased that. The thing with increasing high visibility is we are allocating the patrol officers that are working that shift. So during a typical shift, there is 12 officers to cover the 82 square miles in the Wheaton Glenmont area. Most calls for service take 2 officers to respond. Sometimes it takes more depending on the situation. So while we say there's increase in high visibility, that is us telling the officers when they are not on a call for service or they are not at the station processing something or something else, to be in that area to provide that visibility. It takes them away from doing other proactive activities such as traffic enforcement or quality of life enforcement. We just have them there to be a visibility. So I will say that we have made it a practice on all the holiday weekends to be there. And my officers are aware, as well as our Central Business District team, of the recent events, not only locally, but nationally. And keep that in mind, knowing that we have a large Jewish population in the Kemp Mill area, to provide extra patrol, and we're not on calls for service or time allows to be in that vicinity.
Following that, what do you have any, I guess, tips for us on how we can help ourselves? Obviously, police can't do everything.
Yeah, I'll let Officer Beard talk to that aspect about the prevention and how you can help the law enforcement community with these related incidents.
Okay, Officer Beard, you want to take it now or a little later?
Sure, I can take it now. Thank you for inviting me tonight. In terms of prevention, we need you guys to report things. I have seen the incident at Kemp Mill and Hermley that was reported on Nextdoor. However, it was not reported to us. So I've been in touch with that person throughout today to try and get him to come forward and report that so that we can document it and we can investigate it. There was another incident that I saw on Nextdoor. Please keep in mind that I can't see what you all write to each other. I can only see what is sent to me or what is said to me. So if you all are having a conversation together in amongst yourselves on Nextdoor, I can't read it. I can't see it. So it has to either be sent to me, or it has to you have to send me a private message in order on Nextdoor in order for me to be able to do anything. I believe there was an incident last week too, where a young lady was walking and some group of teens yelled out the window at her. They were yelling obscenities. That was also not reported to us. So you need to, we need your help. We need you to be able to pick up the phone and call the non-emergency number. So our non-emergency number is 301-279-8000. If it's an emergency, if it's a severe physical attack, you need to call 911. Okay. But those other ones, when they're not immediately happening, if it's not a life or death situation, then you can call the non-emergency number. I've seen a number of things about cameras. Cameras are public. So if your community wanted to get together and put up cameras, pole cameras, for any of those areas, we could also work with Ride On and Metro, if those are their bus stops, to see what we could do in terms of cameras. However, just keep in mind that they need to be monitored, they need to be documented, and we need to be able to have access to them. So it is a large responsibility. I don't want to deter you in saying that, but I want you to understand what is what it takes to monitor these cameras that you have. So Ring doorbell cameras are really, really good. I know we've gotten a lot of investigative leads. We've gotten a lot of different descriptions and things like that from Ring doorbell cameras. The other thing most people don't realize is that you can use Ring in conjunction with another application on your phone or on your computer called Neighbors. So if you look up Neighbors in your app store, it runs with Ring. So what happens is, if you have a suspicious situation on your Ring doorbell camera, you can upload that video to Neighbors. And what happens is, people who don't have Ring can still see your video on Neighbors. So that's something that you can consider as well, to further network with the people in your neighborhood and in your community, is using Neighbors along with Ring. So people who don't have Ring can subscribe to Neighbors. People who have Ring can also upload their videos onto Neighbors so that it can be shared and you all can have conversation. Does anybody know this person? This person knocked on my door. This person walked back and forth in front of my house 6 or 7 times. Just trying to communicate with one another so that you are all on the same page and seeing the same things. When reporting, if you're going to report something, we need as much detail as possible. Okay, we need age, sex, race, height, weight. We need direction of travel. Were they in a car? What kind of car? Make, model, tag number, color, and all of those things. But I understand that some things happen very, very quickly and you can't always get all the details. But do your best. Please do your best. Have as much detail available as possible. That's really important for us, because we need to be able to get there to know what we're looking for and which way they went, so that we can start our search. A lot of times we get there and it was a blue shirt and it was a green shirt. Well, I thought it was red. And we don't want to get into that trick bag. We want to make sure that we're getting the proper reporting information so that we are looking for the correct person and or car. So start training yourselves when you walk down the street, just start looking, being aware of, who you're walking next to or who you're walking across the street from, who's out walking their dog, who's out watering their lawn. Those are all certain things that you should take note of when you walk out of your home. Who's driving down the street? What kind of car was it? Do they belong in the neighborhood? Is it your neighbor? Is it somebody you've never seen before? Is it somebody coming from the school? So those are all things that we are going to be asking you. So just because you don't know the person's name doesn't mean you can't give us a description and or a way that they went so that we can start looking for them. You're
You're still
muted.
muted over there.
Thank you. One of our congregants has been quite passionate about encouraging the congregation when they see something to say something, and actually to possibly create a template that's on our website to help them report. People, quite frankly, have been a little bit hesitant about it. They think they're going to first bother the police, second, create a situation in which something may come back on them. Can you speak to that so that we can really encourage our folks to do this?
Absolutely. You're not bothering us at all. First of all, this is our job. We work 24/7, 365. We work on Christmas Day. We work on Thanksgiving Day. We work on the 4th of July. We work on New Year's Day. We work on all the high holy days. We're always working. We're always available. So it is our job to help you. We are community helpers. That's why we're called that. So do not feel that you're bothering us. Now keep in mind, it may take us a minute to get there. Okay, you may be waiting a little bit if it's not an emergency call, but just know we are coming, and we are on our way. So we kind of have to prioritize what we're going to, and that's kind of what the dispatchers do for us. So they send the patrol officers to the real serious things first, and then we go to the report calls, and we go to the other calls for service, like the parking complaints or the report call that, somebody's mailbox got bashed in overnight, those types of things. So just keep in mind that we are coming, we do care, and that we will handle your complaint. However, it may take a couple minutes, it may take an hour, it may take a little bit of time for us to get there, just based on the call volume, the officers that we have working, and the nature of the calls that we're running at that time. So in terms of the other question that you had, can you just repeat it for me one more time?
Well, the second part was the question of after the report is given by an individual, that they'll face a repercussion.
Okay. You can call the non-emergency number and be anonymous. You can ask to meet the officer in a public place. You can ask to meet them, in down the block from their house. They don't have to come to your front door if that's something that you're concerned about. Your neighbors are looking outside and they're seeing the police car, or they're seeing, 2 or 3 officers come to your house. You can meet them in a different place if you would like. You can be anonymous. You can not give your name. If it's something that you saw, or something that you feel that you don't need to speak to the police about, but you want to report it. You saw something in the shopping center, it was suspicious, but you don't need to speak to them necessarily about it. You just need them to go over to the shopping center and to look for that person, car, situation. So those are all different ways that you can avoid if you feel that there may be a retaliation. If you have a neighbor dispute that you want to report, or if there's something else that you just don't want our cars in front of your house, you can certainly meet us down the block, meet us in a public place, talk to us on the phone, or report it anonymously if it didn't occur in your home.
Okay, thank you. I guess this is for both of you, and then I'll go to the questions. We've got a bunch of questions in the chat already. Are the police given specific training in what constitutes hate? And if so, who gives it?
So our officers are, we have annual in-service, and it's not just one day of in-service. They have 1 full day, 2 half days, and then they have online modulars they have to complete every year. And there has been bias-related and hate crime over the past several years dealing with it, because there's been legislative changes on hate crime laws in Maryland. So anytime there's a change in state law, we have to update our officers so they know how to apply that law and take appropriate actions. As well as when officers are in the academy, they have many different situations dealing with isolated incidents, hate crimes, cultural diversity, interacting with different segments of our community and population. They get over a 40-hour block just dealing with people for the academy. So they are very highly trained. It's a priority of Chief Jones to address isolated incidents and hate crimes. And some people ask, well, if an incident occurs and it's not a criminal act, it's a bias-related incident. Someone yells something at you while you're walking down the street. It's not something I can go there and arrest the person for. So I said, well, why should I report it? So we're one of the few departments that actually takes reports for bias-related incidents that are not hate crimes. But the reason we take that, and the reason Chief Jones wants those incidents documented, is because those incidents may lead to criminal acts, and all those incidents profoundly impact the community of the bias-related incident. But it also helps qualify the resources needed and direct resources to the most effective areas. So if no one ever tells us about a bias-related incident, even though it's not a criminal act, we don't know what's going on in the community, and I can't reallocate resources or have Officer Beard go out into community because I heard that something's been going on there, and engage with the community about how to prevent something or increase security of something. So that's another reason it's important to get this statistical information so we can analyze it. But it's just beyond, it goes beyond the police department. You know, when we look at the information, see a significant number of bias-related incidents compared to the past year, well, we have to take a look on why that's occurring. You know, share that information with our public schools and private schools so they can educate the youth about the bias-related incidents and hopefully prevent them in the future. So that's something bigger to look at, and that's why it's important to always report it, even if you don't think it is important. As far as retaliation, in my 22 years in law enforcement, I've never responded to a call of a community member that has been retaliated for contacting the police. A majority of the retaliation complaints that happen are when someone else is, for instance, a drug user, and they turn in a drug dealer and there's a nexus to them. I have never seen where a community member that's reporting something to the police actually get retaliated against because of their report. It's mostly whether it's organized gang activity or drug activity where the retaliation occurs. And that's also where we see a lot of complainants and victims not cooperating with police. I can even speak about incidents in this 4th district where I've had a youth that was shot and eventually paralyzed that would not cooperate with the police even though they know who did the shooting. And it's sad to see those situations, but they occur very often, especially with our violent crimes. You know, the victim doesn't cooperate with the police and they try to think there's their own way to take care of the issue, which we do not encourage or want to even see in the community. So it's things like that to think about. Now, I think that answers the question about the training, and we keep updating the training on that. Maryland did recently change, I believe, 2 or 3 years ago about increasing the penalties for hate crime and making it a separate charge, whereas before it was an enhanced penalties if it was added to that. So if there's any other questions you have about that, I'd be happy to answer them.
I'd like you to flesh out kind of the emotional response of the responding police officer. For example, if someone threw an egg at me and I did report it, I would feel doubly upset if the responding officer sort of, you know, took the report and then just said, well, you know, you weren't hurt, move on, you know, let it go. How are they trained to handle it in a sensitive way?
And that goes back to the dealing with people aspect of it. So when you know, the victim identifies that this is a bias-related incident or a hate crime because it was motivated due to their religion, sexual orientation, or race, the officer is required by policy to take a report. And not only take a report, there's a list of notifications they have to immediately do. And one of those notifications is to notify me as the district commander at any time of night that they're taking a report for a bias-related incident or hate crime. Additionally, it gets sent to our media section. It gets sent to the chief of police. It gets sent to our community engagement division. There's a long list of notifications they have to make on any type of these incidents. So the officers know how serious we take these incidents in Montgomery County. So it's not something they should brush over. We provide them information about victim resources. Our community engagement division, once they get the report, they reach out to the victim within the next couple of days and check on them, as well as provide them assistance if there's any injuries or monetary damage on state funds that are available to help them get reimbursed for anything. So as a whole, we take it very serious. And if a community member has concern with their interaction of an officer on a call, they need to contact us and contact me or contact the district station or our internal affairs division to let us know about it. Because if we don't know about it, we can't change behavior and see what occurred. All of our officers have body-worn cameras, and they are on during the entire interaction. And I review body-worn cameras on a daily basis related to use of force. So if we get a complaint about the way the officer interacted with a community member, I can guarantee you that body-worn camera is going to be reviewed of the whole interaction, and we'll take appropriate action, whether it's a training situation we need to do or whether it needs to be advanced to something else. It will be reviewed and appropriate actions will be taken.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to ask some of the questions that have been placed in the chat. One of the questions is, have there been any actual assaults in the last few years in Montgomery County on Jewish people?
So I'm going to concentrate on the 4th district because each district's kind of like their own region and keeps their information. I know there was a report taken last year, and this from my recollection, over at Westfield Wheaton. A member of the Jewish community was in the mall, and a group of kids came up behind him and hit him or smacked him. We immediately classify it as a bias-related incident if the community member feels it is motivated by bias. It doesn't mean that we have to have evidence that is motivated by bias. If that community member feels that it was motivated by bias, we're going to classify it as that. Later on, if an arrest or apprehension is made, then we can look into it more whether or not it qualifies on the criteria for a hate crime. So that is one that I know of from last year. So far this year, I am not aware of any in the 4th district assault that has been classified as bias related due to religion. I know there has been assaults in the 4th district related to bias related due to sexual orientation. So we take them very seriously. Another one is race. I know there's been several in the county that there has been assaults related to bias-related incidents due to race. But at this time, this year, I'm not seeing any related to religion besides Jewish, other religions in this area.
Thank you. In terms of the cameras, someone has asked, have any of the cameras in the areas that have had incidents actually shown any perpetrators?
For this incident, no, we haven't. But for other incidents, I can tell you, we've been able to arrest people due to thefts from auto, due to burglaries and stuff like that, from getting community members' camera because the person walked past their house or the car drove by there. So it's a great advancement in technology to help our investigators. So yes, there's been significant cases. Not only, I mean, if you look nationally, there's even been murders that have been solved by a community member's camera that picked something up of a car going by. Yeah. And you'll see sometimes on press releases on the news, someone's Nest camera that picked up the incident, and we use that as our press release to try to get information from the public to try to identify someone. So yes, they've been very valuable to us. We just try to get the word out when we do our neighborhood canvas. If you do have video, even if you don't think it's worthwhile, send it to us so we can at least review it and see if we can pick something else up.
To clarify, and this is based on a question that was asked, the cameras that you're talking about are all privately owned or owned by an institution, or are there cameras that are owned by the county in our situation?
So these are all privately owned by community members. There is no cameras, I would say, by the county that are monitored unless they are on county government buildings or on government property. Like Ride-On and Metro, there's cameras inside their buses, but it's not in this district, the 4th district, there's not cameras being placed on public streets or nothing that's attached to a government building that are out there that are from Montgomery County.
And so the same situation would be in the beautiful little local park at Lamberton and Arcola, that if there are no cameras that are placed by the Parks Department, it would have to be done by the community?
Well, if it's on, and that's Park and Planning Commission's property, but it would be my understanding that if you're going to be putting something on government property, you're going to have to get the permission from the Park and Planning Commission to do that. So that would be a conversation to have with Chief McSwain, because I am not familiar with if any of the parks have camera technology that is monitored. There could be, but I can't speak on behalf of them, because I'm sure probably at Wheaton Regional they have buildings there that are monitored or something like that, but that would be with them.
Okay, well, that is about, I think that is all of the questions in the chat. So why don't we open it up to participants, if anybody wants to raise their hand or just unmute and ask your question. Did we cover everything? Okay, well then, thank you. Did anyone not get their question answered that they placed in the chat? I thought I got most of them. All right, if no
I
one.
do see one hand is raised.
Okay, please. Who raised that?
I think that would be me, Natalie. It's
Okay,
Barb.
Hi, Barb.
give it a
I just
shot.
wanted to know if Hartzione is included in the patrols when there are extra patrols in the Kemp Mill area. Is Hartzione included in that?
That's
And
Commander.
what was the name of the place again?
Our synagogue, Hartzion Agudath Achim.
Right. So when the officers are driving through, they're going to drive through the shopping center. They're going to drive through, any area out there that they're familiar with. I can't say specifically which place they're going to drive through, but they're told to drive through the community. So they're not going to be sitting on a, like Kemp Mill Road and just parked on the side of the road. They're most likely going to be in a parking lot and driving around. So it is more of a deterrent effect with high visibility rather than I would say actively catching someone doing something. So not going behind the building and checking the building and doing security checks like this. It's more of being more visible, not only to the community, but to anyone that would think about engaging in criminal activity.
So our synagogue is not physically located in Kemp Mill. As the crow flies, we're literally about a half a mile from Kemp Mill. The people who walk to synagogue walk through the neighborhoods which border Wheaton Park and the Kemp Mill Shopping Center, and then cross University Boulevard to get to the synagogue. And those who drive obviously go on University Boulevard. So we are not in the community, but we are part of it.
Right, and that area borders the 3rd district, which is our Silver Spring district. So I am in constant contact with the district commander there, Commander McBain. So we keep update on each other's activities that are occurring in each other's district because they affect both of our districts. So that area, and when I tell the officers about incidents going on that this is related to anti-Jewish sentiments or activity, they know to look at synagogues in the area and areas where congregations are located. So it's not just one place we're going to say we're just going to be on Kent Mill Road. It's patrolling throughout that whole community in the area.
Okay, I think somebody else.
We
was
have two
there-
more hand raised.
Okay, can you, the folks who have their hands raised, please just jump in.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you very much. This is Delegate Bonnie Cullison, and I first of all want to thank you and the staff at Hartzion for organizing this. I want to thank Commander Augustine for being there and Officer Beard. I think for me, one of the things that we need to keep in mind here in these kinds of incidents is we can't be always just responding to something. We need to be as preventive, have programs in place that prevent. And for me, that is a partnership between law enforcement and the community. So what I'm hoping comes out of these discussions as the result of this latest incidents is that we build that partnership. There were a number of good ideas about how to build community engagement that I heard this evening, but I think it's going to be important to implement them. And honestly, the community is going to need some help doing that. So I appreciate the support that the community will get from law enforcement in order to hopefully prevent these kinds of things happening in the future. So thank you again. Thanks for letting me say something.
Thank you for being here. And who else? There was another hand raised. Let's see. Andrea, you want to say something?
Yeah, that was me.
Okay.
And this has to do with the question of reporting. There's a template on the ADL's website that's really very thorough. And so for something that's not an emergency, I wonder if that's the kind of thing that, somebody might, who is affected might have, say, in front of them so they can, put things down rather than trying to remember everything. And I don't know if Montgomery County Police have something similar, but if you do, I wonder if you could share it with us. And one of the reasons I ask is because, we do have members who would be very, very reluctant to report, and it might benefit our synagogue to have another member who's available kind of to help them, and having something that's kind of, got the basics of what should be, reported, what should be asked, somebody who might be able to address police with them might be helpful. So that's why I'm asking if you've got that kind of a template.
It's not necessarily a template, but it is a pamphlet that we hand out. It's the See Something, Say Something, and it's called Reporting Suspicious Activity. And basically it goes through each individual, is it a person? These are the things that you're going to be asked, race, sex, height, weight, clothing, direction of travel. And then it goes to vehicles. Like, is there, if it's a vehicle, make, model, color, tag number, direction of travel. So it is sort of a template in that. But it actually comes in like a pamphlet form. So I do have it electronically. If you would like me to send it to someone who can then distribute it throughout the community, I could certainly do that. We could set up another in-person community meeting where I could bring them for you. So just let me know what's the best way to get it out to you.
Can you liaison with Hadass, our program director? Thank you. Okay.
Absolutely.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Okay.
If I can just take a quick minute to talk about another activity we're seeing in the community, just so everyone's aware, and it caught my attention last week. So I just want to at least because this will be the first community group I talked to this about, but We have seen a significant increase in catalytic converter thefts in the 4th District.
Mm.
I've had 9 in the past week in the 4th District. These are very difficult cases for our officers to investigate. One of the reasons is catalytic converters don't have serial numbers. So if we were to stop someone with a car full of catalytic converters, it's hard to tie it back to a victim, whereas we can get a suspect and have someone to keep an eye on, but these are occurring in the overnight hours. And unfortunately, it's difficult for me to tell you how to prevent these because like thefts from auto, I can tell you to lock your doors and take your keys. I can't tell you to take your catalytic converter in every night because that would be a little issue if you tried to do that. So again, this comes back to cameras and stuff like that. They are able to remove your catalytic converter probably within 2 minutes. They use a saw, a mechanical saw. I saw a video that occurred 2 weeks ago or something off of Dennis Avenue in one of those communities where we were hit several times with these thefts. Literally, the vehicle's driving down the street. They like Nissan Prius and vehicles like that because they have a higher level of this precious metal. They literally see the vehicle, stop in the middle of the road. 2 people get out of the sedan. One person goes underneath real quick and starts sawing. They take it, throw it in the trunk, and they're off within 2 minutes. So the way for us to catch the people involved in this is we have to catch them in the act. So what I tell people, sometimes this occurs during the day too. People just think their neighbor's working on their car. They're driving down the street, see someone underneath there and like, oh, well, they must work on the car. If you see anyone suspicious that's working underneath the vehicle, whether it's 10 o'clock at night or something like that, at least take a picture of the vehicle they're in, like the tag or something. Because then if we do have a theft, you have that information that can provide that to us. So this is not just a Montgomery County issue. This is a nationwide issue as the value of the precious metal in these converters has skyrocketed. So they get several $100s for one converter. So if they go out and hit 5 cars in a night, they're making several $1,000s when they turn that into a scrapyard. And like I said, when they show up to the scrapyard people are there to take it because there's no serial numbers on them, so we can't tie it to something else. There's other programs in the area that have tried to do things with either painting the converter underneath the car a certain color so it's more identifiable, or engraving a serial number, like your license number, onto the converter so it can be identified. And some mechanic services have offered that. So as we see these increase, just saying, if you see something, say something. If one of your neighbors says, hey, my car doesn't sound right because my converter was stolen, and you had a camera, contact us with the video. You don't even have to watch it because we'll review it and we'll try to bring down the timeline. Even if we don't get a tag on a vehicle, we get a description of the vehicle, we know what type of vehicle they're driving. I'm able to use the resources I have to pay more attention in covert ways to that area and try to match the vehicle up. So unfortunately, it's very costly to the victims in this to have their vehicle repaired for several $100 or $1,000 because of this theft. But it is increasing. I've seen in the last 2 weeks this increase. So we are have implemented plans to hopefully address this, but it's very difficult to address because we have to catch them in an act that only takes them 2 minutes.
Wow. Thank you.
I have another question. This doesn't have anything to do with the bias stuff. I understand, or I've heard that Montgomery County Police has begun a program that's, I guess, akin to a LoJack idea about where they'll provide you or provide somebody for their car a tracking setup that goes directly not to the police but to their phone, so so that somebody would know that the car has been stolen because it's not where they left it, and they'll be able to track it. Is that
Right,
correct?
so-
And if it is, how do we get one?
Sure. So earlier this year, I saw a significant increase in the number of auto thefts that were occurring in the 4th District. Last year, we were up 25% in the 4th District in auto thefts. And in the first quarter of 2022, we were almost double the number of auto thefts that we had in the 4th District. And most of these are related to keys left in the car or people that are delivery drivers leaving the car running while they run inside and go pick up an order or something like that. So to address that, I wanted to use technology to kind of be to our advantage. So there's these devices called tile devices. It's a location device that most people use on their car keys or put it on their cell phone. So if they misplace in the house, they can make it ring, or they can see it on a map. If your gym bag gets stolen, you have one of them in there, you can locate it. So what I did was I was able to find some grant money through our auto theft prevention with the state. And we were able to get around 110 tile devices. And we started the program probably like a month and a half, 2 months ago, and offering it to the areas in the 4th District that had a high number of auto thefts, because we want to make sure they got them first. After that, we opened up to the entire district. And then once that happened, we opened up county-wide. Now, I think we're almost, and Officer Beard, you might be able to answer this if they have all been allocated out of that number. I'm not sure how many are left, but I have requested that once we run out of the current allocation, that we create a wait list to see how many people are actually interested in this, to expand the program and get additional grant funding for it. So I'd like to see it expanded. We did get a high number of people request them after we were on Channel 5 News talking about the devices. We have not had one of the vehicles stolen yet that's had this device in it. And what it does is when the device is in there, the victim can look on their cell phone through the application and see where their vehicle is located. Montgomery County Police, we don't have any access to the information. We tell you that from the beginning. We help you set up your phone, set up the application, so you can see the device and know where it is, but we have no access to it. So it's going to be the victim's responsibility when they call the police saying, hey, I have this tile sticker device and this is its current location. We don't want the victims to go there and get the vehicle themselves, because even if it's abandoned, we process those vehicles very detailed through DNA and fingerprint analysis. We don't want you near the car, so we can do what we got to do to process and hopefully get people that are accountable for this. So it's a way to, number one, hopefully get the car back quicker and find its location. And number two, potentially catch the people still driving the vehicle if you call us immediately and we can tell that it's still moving, and get the vehicle and apprehend the people that are responsible for it.
Ira Unger has his hand up, I think.
Hi, thanks. I wanted to know if the police have had ADL training on hate crimes.
Specifically, I'd have to check with our training academy on that, our training division, because all of our training is mandated by the state and has to receive a Maryland Police Training Commission number that is taught. So I can reach out to Captain Clark, who's our director of our training division that handles all their training, and specifically see if ADL is part of the lesson plan. Now, I've received several correspondence from ADL about optional classes they have to law enforcement to attend, and all those are sent out to our officers as optional classes to attend if they're interested in that topic and want to attend, but to check to see if specifically ADL is responsible for any training related to hate crime and bias related incidents. I'd have to check with our training division on that.
Right. Well, they do have training, and they have trained different departments, and there has been a serious increase in crimes in the area, in hate crimes. So that would be great. I also had a question for Katie. Did any of those people from last night end up making a complaint or a police report?
I'd have to check when I go into the office tomorrow, but as of right now, like I have no emails from that person that's saying that they needed to reach out to me or that they needed help reporting it. So I would have to check our computer automated dispatch in the morning to find out if they reported it.
Okay, well, I'll go on next door and urge them to do that. That would be, I think, a very good thing. to do.
Okay, yeah, he did mention that he was meaning to do it, was the wording. I've been meaning to do it. So I certainly encouraged him and hope that we do hear from him.
And all he has to do is call the 279-8000 number?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
And a question just came over about getting on the wait list. I am assuming for the tile device.
Beard, can you take that one?
Yes, we are currently out of tiles. All of our appointments for June are booked, and I don't know that we're opening July. So if we are accepting for a wait list, I think probably the easiest thing is to call 240-773-5581 and to speak to Sergeant Enendu, Enendu. She has been in charge of our distributing the tiles and booking the appointments. So she would be the one to speak to about getting on the wait list.
And I think she's here with us tonight. I saw her name. Okay, thank you. All right. Anything else? Well, thank you very much. This has been terrific. We have learned a lot, and let's hope we don't have to face any further incidents, but we're a little bit more educated in how to handle them now. So thank you very much, and good night.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Natalie.
you.
Thank you, Commander Agustin and Officer Byrd. If you have any additional questions you'd like to ask, please email me. I'll make sure to forward it to Officer Byrd, and I will also send just a brief email with all the phone numbers and everything we discussed today.
Great.
And Hadass, I'll send you that say something electronically so that you can distribute that as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all for
all.
the invitation.
Good night.